friends, it's Sharon Luska here from My Crafty Greetings. We're going to be doing a Scrappy Tales video today. I'm using a couple support products here for the card that we're going to be making, but the focus is these gorgeous bloom sets that Sabrina made. This is the Happy Birthday retro blooms that she's done. She's done 3 sets, and this one has made all of these blue flowers here as well as that rose, and then it has these gorgeous auxiliary pieces that are so useful. It is crazy. I love this stitched daisy set as well. We're not going to be specifically using it today, but I'll get into the centers here in another video on how I made those bachelor's buttons. The I Love You Mom's Bloom set has beautiful leaves, little tiny flowers for the side, and these amazing centers. Now, we're going to focus on some basic sculpting today, but what you cut with your dies also makes a difference in how your cards are going to look, and that'll be done in a future video. So basic sculpting today and more intensive sculpting, as well as what you should cut with these flower dies. Now I have just cut Nina Solar White with my little, my smallest Happy Birthday Blooms die here, and I'm taking this stencil, and I know we normally put our stencils down even with our paper, so that the sides of the stencil are running in the same direction as the sides of our paper. And I think it's fantastic to turn these on their side and look at them this way as well. I really wanted those lines to be running horizontally and perpendicularly with my paper. I'm running the spray diagonally across my paper, and I want to make sure that my paste is going to peek out from underneath these flowers. So that's why I've added these little pencil dots. And no worries, the dots are going to be covered by the flowers and the paste itself, but it's going to give it a nice bed to set this on. There's nothing worse than getting your paste done and finding out that you haven't put enough down and that your elements are covering up all of the beautiful work you've done underneath. I love this Ranger texture paste too, because it gives it a nice matte but fluffy texture to it, and people always look at it. They always have to touch it and take a better look when they're looking at my cards, and that makes me feel wonderful. Now, you think that my brain would have remembered we had this on an angle. I had to think about this and turn it again to match it up. But once I got it matched, I just kind of hovered it over the wet paste and then use my finger to hold down the top. You can put some practice in doing this, especially when it's going to be hidden by some of your elements. Practice doing this, and then you don't have to wait for the first application to dry. So not totally matched, good enough though. We'll take a little bit of the extra off here and put it back in our pot, but we're going to set this aside and let it dry. Now, this is some temporary tape runner here that I've put on some Nina Solar White. I've cut all the smallest centers of the Birthday Blooms flowers out of Nina Solar White, and I've also cut out some small flowers from the I Love You Mom Birthday die set. I have these little sponges from the dollar store and a little syringe from the dollar store, as well as these little paint trays from the dollar store, but I have Jane Davenport watercolor paints in the brights. I love this set. It's amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dab color onto these centers, and this is going to save me having to cut all kinds of colored pieces of paper, or having to cut watercolored paper up with my centers and wasting so much. We're going to get a 2-shot deal out of this. I'm going to color up these centers, and then I'm also going to have myself a rainbow colored piece of paper by the time I'm done, so that I could use with other projects. Now, I know I did the rainbow colors wrong, but I don't think anybody's going to notice in the card. It's just going to look really cool when I put all these things together. So the first very basic thing we're going to do is just to roll the petals. We're going to roll the petals and curve them around with the shape of the flower itself. And we're going to poke the center in so it gives it a nice kind of puffed up look to it. And you're going to poke the center of the center detail so that it follows along with those lines. The next thing you can do is you can roll the petals. So you want to roll them around so that they have this kind of curled in look. And if we cup the center, you again get a different look from the first one that we just did. And I'll give you a better look at that just shortly. The other thing too is I'm just using paintbrush handles, and I've got a thinner one there. Here's a pencil eraser just to poke the center down. Now watch this. I flip this over, and now we get a completely different looking flower. And if I take this center and put it in, you can see how everything's starting to look like 4 different flowers. And I'll give you a better view of that as I have all 4 of them done. But just so that you can see here the 2 different styles, where one is a rolled in leaf, the other one is a cupped leaf. And here's all 4 of the different styles. So one's flipped up, one's flipped down, flipped up, flipped down, and you get totally different looks from these. The very first card that I showed you with the blue flowers right here has the blue flowers rolled in and the pattern in blue flowers cupped in. And it makes them look like 2 totally different flowers. So today we're looking at the style of embossing that we just did, and we're going to pick the flowers that I think go best. This is a personal choice. All of them are going to work. And what I'm caught between is either the rolled in facing up and the rolled in or the cupped in facing up flowers. And I am going to pick the cupped in facing up flowers. So here is the biggest tip you're going to have. If you take and apply a little bit of water, this is why I'm using a sponge, I'm only wetting my fingertip, a little bit of water to the back of the paper that you're using, and then curl your flowers. When that paper dries, you don't want it too wet that it starts to rumple or bump up. Once that dries, it is going to hold that shape like a perm. And it's going to have a stronger hold on that shape than any other flower. So I'm taking and poking in the centers with an eraser. These are all things that you can do with no extra tools, because all of us have paintbrushes, all of us have pencil ends, and we can do this. So here's the 2 flowers here. One has been curled with water, one has not. The right one is the one that did not get curled with water. While I was talking, you may have noticed that I pre-glued all the centers with a little bit of Tombow Mono Multi. So now the centers are like stickers, and I can just sticker in all of my little painted centerpieces, and we're gonna start to arrange this to look somewhat like a rainbow. Now these cute little flowers from the I Love You Mom flowers die set, I also colored to add in and just to fortify this little spray here. We're going to rearrange some of the flowers. You do whatever you think is best, but this is the arrangement that I like. And then I'm just going to squeeze in a little bit of glue here. I know I've had a few people ask me about this nozzle. It's from my nail shop and I love it, so I'm trying to figure out how to show it to you guys. Now I boo-booed the edge of my card here. I had wet fingers and I caused a little, I don't know, a little owie in my paper at the edge. So I just added some more sculpting paste to cover that up. Here are my sponges all dry. I'm leaving the paint on them and I'm just gonna clamshell them together in a second paint palette from the dollar store. So there's my Jane Davenports. If you don't have a syringe, you can use a spray bottle, spray nozzle. I just like the syringe. Okay, so to amp up this basic sculpting to next level, we're gonna actually take 2 layers. And we're gonna take 2 layers of the rolled and 2 layers of the cupped. And we're gonna take a look at how they look when you layer them over each other. Now, I didn't do the water on the back when I sculpted these, so they're a little looser. So just remember to use that water, just apply it with your finger on the back, not tons, a little bit. That's all you need, and it'll give those something like a perm. Okay, here's our rolled petals layered over each other with a center, and you can see how neat that looks as a flower. Once it was glued down, you'd see how, giving them a little bit of a zhuzh like this. Once they're glued down flat, you can see how much of a difference it makes. There's that funky center from the I Love You Mom Bloom set. I love those little thin tendrils. You're gonna see me do something crazy with those in another video. So here I am, I'm going to zhuzh them so they go the opposite direction. So now these rolled petals are cupped up. There it is with the other center, just so that you have an idea of how this changes these flowers. So I'm just gonna reinforce the curl on these guys. So these ones are the cupped flowers or rolled on the outside. I'm pushing that center in. I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. And we layer them together, and you can see that the smaller the bloom gets, it gets a little bit of a different kind of look to it. Still so pretty, full bloom. If you did some ink blending on this, it would just blow you away. And these gorgeous centers, oh, they just Wow. So I'm going to just push this down so you can see when it goes cupped up instead of cupped down. And when you see this other center in it, how cool it looks. So those are things that you can look at with your own flower sets, or if you have or get the Sabrina's die sets, this Blooms Trio that she has, you're just going to absolutely love all the things that you can do that I'm just playing now. But one of the nice things that I like is these rounded blooms are actually 6-petal. Most of the punches and dies that I've seen out there are 5-petal, and I love the fact that these ones have 6. It makes all the difference in how you can layer these blooms together. So you can see here those centers, how I assembled them. I wanted to make sure that you saw all the auxiliary pieces. I completely forgot to point out the fact that there's all these words. I'm just pointing everywhere like a maniac here, but these sets are amazing and give you so many options, so many ways of doing things, and so many different leaves, flowers, flower centers, little extra zhuzhis, you name it. They're just wonderful. So one of the things that I made with this card here, I wanted to show that to you. So that is the rolled petals facing down, and then these are our cupped petals facing up. This is the final card I made. Hopefully that gives you a start for how to sculpt your flowers. Try it out on the flowers that you have, and definitely check out Sabrina's shop. My links will be below. They're affiliate links, so thank you for the support, and hopefully you get a chance to craft today. Thank you. Bye.